Chapter 1, Fractured Bonds. Emmy sat cross-legged on her bed, staring at her phone screen. The argument with her mother replayed in her mind like a broken record. "You never listened to me," she had screamed, slamming her bedroom door moments before. "And you act like you know everything about my life," her mother had countered. The house had felt unbearably stifling lately. Ever since her breakup with Ryan, who had cheated on her with her best friend, Sasha, Emmy's world had shrunk into a cocoon of distrust and solitude. Even her mother, who once seemed like an ally, now felt like a nagging presence constantly reminding her of her failures. "You need to move on, Emmy," her mother had said one evening. But Emmy wasn't ready. She was still nursing a shattered heart, and every glance at her phone threatened to reveal a memory of Ryan and Sasha smiling together. Alone in her room, Emmy scrolled through old photos, fighting the tears that welled up in her eyes. It felt like everyone she cared about had betrayed her. Chapter 2. The call. Her phone buzzed, startling her from her thoughts. She glanced at the screen, an unknown number. "Hello," she answered hesitantly. "Hello, my dear granddaughter." The voice was deep and gravelly, yet there was a warmth to it that made her stomach twist with curiosity. "Who is this?" "This is your grandfather, Emmy. I know we've never met, but I've missed you terribly. I only recently found your number." Emmy's heart skipped a beat. Her grandfather? She'd never met the man, her mother rarely spoke of him, and whenever she did, it was with a cold finality that discouraged questions. "I don't know if I believe you," Emmy said cautiously. "I understand," the voice replied. "Your mother, Elise, always did have a stubborn streak. Remember how she loved that stuffed fox she carried everywhere as a child? Your grandmother had to sew its nose back on twice." Emmy froze. She'd only ever heard that story once, from her mother on a rare nostalgic evening. The details were too specific for a stranger to guess. I think you might be telling the truth," she whispered. "I just want to see you," he said. "We've missed so much time." Chapter 3, A Bond Rekindled. The calls became a nightly ritual. Emmy found solace in the conversations. Her grandfather spoke with affection, asking about her life, offering advice, and painting vivid pictures of her mother's childhood. He described her grandmother as a kind, loving woman whose untimely death had devastated him. "I've got a place out here, Emmy," he said one evening. "Deep in the woods. It's peaceful, far from all the noise. You'd love it." The isolation sounded appealing to Emmy. She wanted to escape the constant reminders of betrayal and her mother's overbearing concern. "Maybe I'll visit," she said hesitantly. "I'd love that, my dear," he replied. Chapters 4 to 6. The Arrival. One rainy evening, Emmy packed a small bag and left a note for her mother. She didn't explain much, just that she needed space and was visiting a family member. Her mother would only try to stop her if she knew the truth. The journey to the address her grandfather had given her was long and winding. The forest grew denser, the roads narrower. By the time she arrived, it was pitch dark. The house was a dilapidated cabin, its roof sagging and windows clouded with grime. A single lantern flickered on the porch. The figure of an older man stepped out to greet her. "Emmy," he exclaimed, his arms outstretched. His hair was snow-white, his beard long, and his eyes held a manic glint. Something about him made her stomach churn, but she forced a smile. "Hi, grandfather." Chapters 7 to 10. Unease. As days passed, Emmy noticed oddities. The man's stories about her grandmother didn't always match. Sometimes he called her by her mother's name, Elise, and at other times seemed to lose track of reality altogether. She found herself waking in the middle of the night to hear him muttering to himself in a strange, guttural language. Once, she caught him staring at her from the shadows of the hallway, his eyes gleaming unnaturally in the dark. Her phone had no signal, and the woods surrounding the cabin seemed to stretch endlessly. The first chase came when Emmy confronted him about his strange behavior. His face twisted in rage, and he accused her of being ungrateful, just like her mother. She fled into the woods, but the man pursued her with surprising speed. She managed to evade him by hiding in a hollow tree until dawn. Chapters 11 to 13. The truth. While exploring the cabin during his absence, Emmy found old letters in a locked drawer. They revealed the man was not her grandfather but a former lover of her grandmother, spurned after she married someone else. The man's mind had unraveled over the years, and he had concocted this elaborate plan to lure her family back to him. Terrified, Emmy planned her escape. She feigned illness to lower his guard and waited for nightfall. But he caught her packing and flew into a fit of madness. The second chase began, culminating in her locking him inside a room and fleeing into the woods. The final chase came as dawn broke. Exhausted and injured, Emmy stumbled upon a hunter's cabin and was rescued. When she looked back toward the forest, she thought she saw his shadow retreating. Chapter 14, Recovery. Months later, Emmy's life had returned to normal. She reconciled with her mother, found a new boyfriend who treated her well, and began to heal. The events in the woods felt like a distant nightmare. Chapter 15, The Call. One evening, as Emmy sat laughing with her boyfriend, her phone buzzed. The number was unknown. She hesitated, then answered. "Hello?" A pause. Then, the gravelly voice she thought she'd escaped, "Hello, granddaughter." The line went dead. The end. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video and love creepy tales, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss our next dive into the eerie and unexplained. Now here's a fun challenge. Drop the name of your creepiest relative in the comments below. Who knows, maybe they'll inspire the next spooky story. See you in the next one. Stay curious and stay safe.